Greetings, everyone, and welcome to, this is not Raw Space Live, welcome to the CRS-21 Falcon 9 launch of Dragon 2, and yeah, so I wanted to do a Q&A. I don't always do Q&As for SpaceX launches, but I wanted to do one this time because there's some really cool stuff going on. First of all, this is the very first launch of a Dragon 2 cargo spacecraft. So, if you recall the original Dragon cargo spacecraft, Benu's running around. So, the original Dragon cargo spacecraft did not have an autonomous docking capability. So, yeah, it had to be grappled by the Canadarm2, the space station remote manipulator system, a robotic arm, and then berthed to a berthing port. But the Dragon 2 is the new variant, or the new model of the Dragon spacecraft. There are two variants. There is the Crew Dragon, which we've already seen fly up to the space station 3 times now. The Crew 1 mission was just a few weeks ago, very exciting. And the Cargo Dragon, or the Dragon 2 cargo variant, which is what we're going to see today. Now, the two are basically the same model of spacecraft, different configurations. I don't believe that the Dragon 2 cargo variant has Super Draco thrusters because it doesn't need a launch abort capability like the Crew Dragon does. Whereas, like by removing the Super Dracos, they free up a lot of potential cargo mass that they can include. And okay, so that's Crew Dragon. I mean, sorry, that's Dragon 2. Now, regarding the payload today, there are some cool things that they are bringing up to the space station. The first of which is the Bishop airlock from NanoRacks. This is the first commercial airlock that will be attached to the International Space Station. NanoRacks is a company that has worked, that has produced a lot of the hardware they use on the space station for mounting things inside and various other various other purposes. Like a lot of their scientific experiments are contained within NanoRacks enclosures, things like that. But NanoRacks has partnered with a variety of companies, including Thales Alenia Space in Europe and some others, in order to create the Bishop airlock. Now the Bishop airlock, now currently, okay, if I remember correctly, there are 4 airlocks on the ISS. And I presume that includes the Poisk module, which they just evaluated for airlock purposes. The Russians did just a few weeks ago during a spacewalk. But this will be the first commercial one. Now, I wanted to mention the sort of juxtaposition, or whatever the word is. It's very cool. So first of all, Bishop was named after the chess piece, which moves diagonally. But I thought it was very cool that they named they named this payload on the first Dragon 2 cargo spacecraft, Bishop, because if you recall, the passenger on the first Crew Dragon launch, the Demo 1 mission, was called Ripley. And of course, Bishop and Ripley, for anyone who knows movies at all, are characters from the Aliens movie, one of the greatest films of all time, in my humble opinion. So this is a little toy Spock entering the Bishop airlock, but let's take a closer look. Here's some 360 views. It has 2 different, you notice, you can't see my mouse pointer, but if you look in the photo, or the illustration in the upper left, you see a circular thing on the outside with a antenna sticking up, and then one on the lower right side. Those are mounting points for the robotic arm. Those are the 2 points at which they can grab the Bishop airlock with the remote manipulator system and move it around to wherever they need. We see here Wi-Fi antennas, EVA handrails, PVGF, that's, I guess, their acronym for the mount points. I don't know what it stands for, but those are the points at which they can grab it with Canadarm. M-Mod shielding, that's the micrometeoroid orbital debris shielding. So in space, I mean, down here on Earth, we're protected from micrometeoroids because they burn up in the atmosphere in the form of shooting stars, but in space, there's no such protection, such atmospheric protection. So the space station, spacecraft, satellites, all objects in space are subject to impact by micrometeoroids, which are like specks of dust, things like that, impact at tens of thousands of miles per hour, or kilometers per hour. And they don't do a huge amount of damage, but they do produce some wear and tear on hardware. So so they have shielding on the outside of spacecraft, on the outside of the ISS, on the outside of Bishop, that protects the vehicle from micrometeoroid orbital debris. Now they have they have a nice animation here. So Bennu my cat, is currently playing with some random piece of debris, or random piece of plastic. So if he distracts me or flops into the frame, please pardon him. They don't have narration during this animation, but they do have music, which is why I have it muted. Here, let me play my music for a minute. Now, in the upcoming coverage, the live coverage, it's going to be in two phases. So NASA begins commentary about 30 minutes prior to launch, and SpaceX begins about 15 minutes prior to launch. So what I'll do is 30 minutes prior to launch, which, you know what, I should have the launch countdown up. 30 minutes prior to launch, I will show you the NASA coverage, and then once SpaceX comes on, I will switch to that because it is usually higher quality as far as video quality, and there's no spinning NASA logo. So it should be the same coverage though, because SpaceX. Actually, I'm not sure what they're going to do, because normally when they do like tandem broadcasts, they broadcast the same thing. But if NASA's starting 15 minutes earlier, then they have to have their own commentators. We'll see. We'll have to play it by ear, which is what usually happens anyway. Okay. Maria Kutajan is asking, what are those things released to space? So now I'm not super educated about the Bishop airlock, but one of the things it looks like they're doing is pre-placing objects on the outside so that the astronauts and cosmonauts who who exit the airlock can have quick and easy access to them. So they take objects that they'll need, and they place them on the outside. Another thing they do is they actually deploy small sats and nanosats from the outside of the Bishop airlock. Now, what I'm not sure about is, so I presume what they do is the airlock allows the ISS crew access to the stuff inside, and so, for example, an astronaut could take some sort of payload or satellite or experiment or whatever, put it inside the airlock from inside the ISS without having to suit up and do an EVA, which is a huge ordeal, sort of an all-day thing and very complicated and risky. So they can just place the payload directly in the airlock, and then the air can be evacuated from the airlock. The airlock can be grabbed by the robotic arm, and then the payload can be shot off into space without having to do an EVA or whatever. So the Hop 78, what's filming, that was an animation from NanoRacks. So the Bishop airlock, I believe, will be located in the trunk of the Dragon 2 cargo craft. Let me bring up an image of that. We've got a few minutes here. Sure, this will do. Okay. So here we have Dragon 2. Well, this is Crew Dragon 2, but it's the same. It's the same design with some modifications for cargo. So the top part is the capsule. That's where the people go in the case of Crew Dragon, or where the pressurized cargo goes in the case of Cargo Dragon. And pressurized cargo just means there's air in there. It's not a vacuum. And then the trunk is the bottom portion, which contains the solar panels and these fins that are used during the ascent phase of the mission. And the trunk, if you look from the bottom, the trunk is hollow. It's empty from the bottom. There's no bottom to it. It's all open, which is an unpressurized cargo area. So the Bishop the airlock is going to go, it fits just barely, I think, inside the trunk here at the bottom of Dragon 2. Amal Dumal asks, is this a Canadian arm? So the shuttle robotic arm was Canadarm1, and the space station robotic arm is Canadarm2. The official name is the Remote Manipulator System. They have, actually, it consists of many parts, but overall it's called the Remote Manipulator System, but it otherwise referred to as the Space Station Robotic Arm, or Canadarm2. Canadarm for short, even though technically Canadarm was the shuttle robotic arm. So previously, Dragon cargo craft had to be grappled by Canadarm. Let's see, Dragon on Canadarm. There you go. Oops. Oh, that's tiny. What in the world? There you go. So there is a Dragon 1 cargo module having been grappled by Canadarm2. And it was made in Canada. That was one of their large contributions to the ISS. It's essential. Like, it was absolutely essential for both construction on the space station as well as conducting their day-to-day operations, moving things around on the outside, docking craft, berthing craft, etc., etc. So, a note about berthing versus docking. Berthing, so we go, okay, 42 minutes. Berthing is where, and this refers to both spacecraft and ships, cargo on the ocean. Berthing is where another craft has to control the joining of two craft, or the positioning of a craft. So, like, for example, a tugboat pushes on a ship and berths it to the port. Similarly, Canadarm grapples a Dragon 1 spacecraft and berths it to the ISS, whereas docking is where a ship maneuvers itself on its own power, such as you might dock your personal boat to a dock, or the Dragon 2 cargo module, or the Crew Dragon module, or the Soyuz module dock themselves to the ISS. It's actually an unmanned operation. They can take, well, for crewed missions, the crew can take manual control if needed, but it shouldn't be needed most times. For unmanned missions such as Dragon 2, so it's interesting to note this is an autonomously docking craft, but it is not manned, so there aren't people on board to control it. If for some reason the automatic docking function failed and they needed to take manual control, I'm not actually sure whether they would do that from the ISS or from the ground. Maybe they have the capability to do it from either place. That would seem to make sense. Okay. So let me see here. If you have a question for me, and I should have mentioned this earlier, if you have a question for me, please make sure to tag my name, Raw Space. That way I am sure to see it. Just scanning the chat. Homie asks how old I am. I am 44. Jeez Louise. I'm 44. Enough years go by and that you lose track of math as well as your age. So a minute ago, or a few minutes ago, Bennu crawled underneath the skirt of a plush, an upholstered chair that's in my room, in my office. I might be able to fish him out so that you can see him. He doesn't usually come up to me when I'm streaming. I don't know why. Maybe he just hears my voice and goes to sleep. Hopefully not what the 585 viewers are currently doing. Here's Bennu on the side of the screen. There you go. Tamas Borbeli. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. All right. Cheers from Chile. Hello, Canon Lucas. Freshwater Boy, in a year we'll be watching Tom Cruise on his way to space. That's a thing. He's trying to. He wants to take a trip to the ISS to film part of a movie. I say more power to him. I mean, it's not like they're. I mean, NASA will be NASA and et cetera, will be getting paid, and SpaceX, whoever brings him up there, probably SpaceX will be getting paid. So it's not like it's a free ride or whatever. But and it brings a lot of attention to the reality of space, which I think we would all appreciate some more attention on that. Saludos desde Mexico. I'm not sure what ARQ is short for, Alejandro, but hello. Buenos dias. What material? Okay, Canon Lucas asks, what materials are made the MMOD shielding, the micrometeoroid orbital debris shielding? I think, I think it comes in different forms. I mean, there are like multi-layer cloth pads that are placed on the outside of the ISS. There are also metallic shielding that are used. I'm not sure in this specific case what the shielding is made of. It's probably proprietary and not, they may not publish that specific, the alloy or the layers or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how it's put together. But micrometeoroid shielding is almost always consists of multiple layers, cross woven or arranged such that it has the maximum capability of intercepting an orbital BB. Canadarm is my boy. Microsound says it looks like a diving bell under the sea. That's the Bishop airlock. Yeah. What did they say? They said it had a bell-jarred design. That's bell jar. That's like a canning jar, like a glass jar. So I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but it has the word bell, so there you go. But it looks very versatile, which is great. The versatility is what you need in space, because you have, I mean, every ounce counts. Wasn't intended to rhyme, but ounces counts. Anyway, you want the equipment you have up there to serve as many functions as possible, but also to be redundant. All right. We're looking at. Okay, looks like about 3 minutes for the live coverage. Let me see if there's any last-minute questions. Oh, yeah. So if you would do me a favor and go ahead and click the like button. I know every streamer and content creator says that, but it has a purpose, and that is it tells YouTube that you appreciate this content. And by doing so, it will, the YouTube algorithm, the almighty YouTube algorithm, will recommend this video and other videos for people to see. Otherwise, you know, you could have a great video or a great stream and no one would know it's there because the algorithm is like, eh. Which I've seen happen many times. Felix Gatfield, do I like Elon Musk? I've never met the man. I'm sure that in person he is probably, well, very busy for one thing. But he is a catalyst that is creating, or that is through his vision and the people that he surrounds himself with, has been doing some amazing things for the world. I drive one of his cars. I have a Model 3 and I love it. Aircraft productions by Z-Man, what do cats have to do with space? A couple things. Bennu is in fact named after asteroid Bennu that we recently collected a sample from. And cats are cool. And there have been cats not in space, but in 0G on the Vomit Comet airplane, which they're not that well accustomed to 0G. But if they had more time, I think they would acclimate to it, just like the mice that they've brought aboard the space station. Okay. Well, we've got live coverage starting here in a minute, so I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to the pre-launch music for a short time, and thanks for coming. Enjoy the launch, and I'll see you on the other side. Don't forget to catch Space Week with me at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. GMT. All right, bye for now.
SpaceX Cargo Dragon. Today's launch, a NASA mission to deliver critical supplies and research to the astronauts living and working aboard the International Space Station. Liftoff is scheduled for 11:17 a.m. Eastern Time. Good morning and welcome to Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I'm Tori McClendon with NASA Public Affairs. We are thrilled to have you join us during this holiday season to watch the newly redesigned Cargo Dragon spacecraft begin its debut flight. Today kicks off a new series of resupply missions to the space station. The original Dragon 1 spacecraft completed its 20th and final cargo resupply mission earlier this year. Now the upgraded Dragon 2 will carry the torch with even more capacity for science payloads. It will lift off on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from historic Launch Complex 39A. We have teams across the country following today's operations, from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, to Mission Control in Houston, and right here in Florida. We'll also have experts talk with them about the science on this mission. Fueling is underway on the Falcon 9 rocket, and there's a live view as we speak. We are now at T-minus 30 minutes and counting. And as with all missions to the International Space Station, the launch window today is instantaneous. That means the rocket must launch at the exact second of the planned liftoff in order to reach the correct orbit to get to the space station. Cargo Dragon will dock to the station at about 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, and Dragon is of course packed with critical supplies and research, but also a few items to help make the crew feel a little more at home for the holidays. We'll take a closer look at the science on board, but first, here are some basics on this mission. This will be the first launch for SpaceX under NASA's second Commercial Resupply Services contract and the company's 21st mission of its kind. This will be the fourth flight for the Falcon 9 first stage that will once again return to Earth to be refurbished for its next mission. Cargo Dragon will deliver more than 6,400 pounds of research and supplies to the astronauts on board, and this will be the first flight for the upgraded Cargo Dragon that will now perform automated rendezvous and docking with the space station. CRS-21 is unique in so many ways. Let's take a look at what makes this cargo mission stand apart from the rest. And we are about T-minus 27 minutes away from liftoff. Joining us now is NASA's Joshua Santora and Marie Lewis with an update on the launch. Hey guys, give us some good news.
Hey, good morning. Yes, we do have some good news for you. We have increasingly improving weather conditions. I'm Joshua Santora, joined by Marie Lewis.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. I know we had a wave off yesterday because the weather at the booster recovery site wasn't looking too great, but things are looking a lot better today.
Yes, we're going to go and take a look here at this graphic. We've got currently a 70% chance of good weather conditions. That means we have a 30% POV as a common term, percentage of violation of those weather constraints. And it's some thick clouds that are moving through the area pretty quickly, and that speed actually is really helping us. It's like we're looking at what we've heard on these audio loops we're listening into, the launch process and countdown. Things are proceeding well. We're not expected to have any of those thick cloud pockets in the area, but we still have a chance of that. That coming from our launch weather officer, Melody Lovin of the U.S. Space Force 45th Space Wing Weather Squadron. Appreciate those fine folks taking good care of us.
And as you heard Tori mention, fueling began at T-minus 35 minutes, so it's well underway now. That RP1, which is rocket-grade kerosene, liquid oxygen fueling on the first stage, well underway. And then at T-minus 16 minutes, so about 10 minutes from now, we'll hear that liquid oxygen loading has begun on the second upper stage.
Yeah, we've got a full staff on board today from coast to coast here at the Kennedy Space Center. We are tracking this ourselves, as well as there's a SpaceX team here and support from NASA as well with some telemetry and communication. Out in Houston, Texas at the Johnson Space Center, we have teams from NASA's Mission Control who also support Space Station there, and then out in California on the West Coast at Hawthorne, the SpaceX headquarters and Mission Control as well. So teams keeping a close eye on things, and they're liking what they're seeing so far.
Absolutely, and so far things are looking green. The range is green around the pad and the area downrange. The rocket is healthy. We have not heard any significant issues on the nets. And you may have noticed when we were on that wider shot, the booster looks like it's seen better days, but that's actually because it's been reused so many times.
Yes, yeah. So this will be its fourth flight, which we're excited for. Just that capability to use a flight-proven booster. So there you see on your screen, this will be the fourth flight. If all goes according to plans today. Demo 2, our space dads, Bob and Doug, used the same booster earlier this year, and then the Anasis 2 flight and then a Starlink mission have all used this booster. So here we go for number 4.
Yeah, so this booster has certainly been put through its paces, and the Cargo Dragon on top, of course, is the new upgraded Cargo Dragon. And the Commercial Crew Program is watching, we'll be watching this mission really closely to see how this Cargo Dragon performs, because it has so many similarities to the Crew Dragon that just launched Bob and Doug earlier this year and launched the Crew of 4 on Crew 1 last month. You'll see on the bottom part of the capsule where the Super Dracos would have been for that launch escape system on the Crew Dragon does not exist on Cargo Dragon. Also inside, there's no seats, obviously, because it's packed with cargo instead of people. And then there are no windows on the outside and only 2 of 4 fins on the trunk, the bottom half.
Yeah, and obviously the purpose of this mission today is to get cargo and supplies to space station. So that the Dragon is really broken apart into 2 parts. There's the capsule, which is pressurized, which holds about 9.3 cubic meters or 328 cubic feet of storage space. And so that's, if you are familiar with the size of a minivan, that's roughly 2 minivans, a little over 2 minivans packed full of stuff. And then the trunk, which you'll hear more about, the NanoRacks Bishop airlock, is taking good use of the vacuum storage space. It's exposed to the vacuum of space as it takes off. That's about 37 cubic meters or 1,300 cubic feet. A couple other noteworthy things here. We won't see solar arrays deployed during this flight. That's not a part of the Dragon 2 operation. They have solar arrays that are actually make up half of the trunk. The outside half of the trunk is the solar array. And then the nose cone, that will be kind of a big final milestone for us on our flight today, is that nose cone being opened, because as we need to dock with station, we need a space to be able to dock with station, and it's underneath the nose cone.
And one other real quick mention, you can see in this wide shot the crew access arm that has retracted away already from Cargo Dragon. This was the first time that SpaceX used that crew access arm to load cargo on a cargo resupply mission. They've obviously used it before for the crew missions, but this is the first time they used that arm to load cargo for a cargo resupply mission. So we are now at T-minus 23 minutes, 6 seconds and counting. Again, we have an instantaneous launch window at 11:17 and 8 seconds this morning Eastern Time. And SpaceX will attempt to land that first stage booster a 4th time, this time over the Atlantic Ocean on the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship. So we'll be keeping an eye on that about 8 minutes and some change after launch. But for now, Tori, we will send it back to you.
Thanks for the update. We'll check back in with you later. Sounds like everything is looking good so far for today's launch. Cargo resupply missions from U.S. companies like the one today ensure a national capability to deliver critical science research to the space station. Now, this significantly increases NASA's ability to conduct new investigations in a microgravity environment at the only laboratory in space. The ISS National Lab gives us a closer look at some of this groundbreaking research.
SpaceX's 21st Commercial Resupply Services mission to the International Space Station is ready to launch from Kennedy Space Center. This mission will bring critical cargo, research, and technology demonstration payloads to the orbiting laboratory. The ISS National Laboratory is proud to sponsor more than 15 payloads on this mission, representing dozens of experiments to further fundamental and applied research through space-based inquiry and to engage the next generation of researchers and explorers. Here's a quick look at some of the payloads on SpaceX CRS-21. Bristol Myers Squibb, a leading pharmaceutical company, is launching a protein crystallization investigation aimed at improving drug formulation and delivery for patients on Earth. In this experiment, the team will study the crystallization of monoclonal antibodies in space to improve their crystallization back on the ground. Monoclonal antibodies are lab-created proteins designed to interact with specific targets called antigens and are used in the treatment of several diseases, including cancer. 3 projects on this mission are funded by the National Institutes of Health through its joint multi-year Tissue Chips in Space initiative with the ISS National Lab. Tissue chips are small devices engineered to grow human cells on an artificial scaffold to model the structure and function of human tissues. Studying tissue chips in space may accelerate pathways for understanding disease and developing new treatments for use on Earth and beyond. To learn more about all ISS National Lab sponsored research on this mission, please visit issnationallab.org.
Among all of this life-changing science, the heart tissue chips experiment is quite fascinating. NASA's Jasmine Hopkins is standing by with a special guest who can tell us more. Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Tori. I'm Jasmine Hopkins, and joining me to talk to us more about the cardinal heart tissue chip investigation is Dr. Dilip Thomas, postdoctoral fellow from the Stanford Cardiovascular Institute. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Jasmine, for having me.
Absolutely. Can you tell us what this investigation is about?
Absolutely. So the cardinal heart tissue chip research is born out of an academic collaboration between Stanford Cardiovascular Institute, University of California, Santa Barbara, Biosource Space Technologies, and the ISS National Labs. The research is funded by the National Institutes of Health and the National Center of Advances in Translational Sciences. And we are a part of the Tissue Chip Consortium. So as one of the leading cardiovascular groups in the nation, we're interested in how heart disease develop and how we can use better medications to treat them. The Cardinal Heart experiment that's launching on the ISS, we are particularly interested in how microgravity affects the heart. And we are doing so using an engineered heart tissue that is grown in the lab, which is basically a small muscle strip of your heart that beats spontaneously. Now you may ask, why is this research important? So on Earth, we know that our heart takes the shape of the letter V, and in microgravity, it takes the shape of the letter O. The reason being that a phenomena called mechanical unloading, meaning that when we are on Earth, our heart has to work hard against gravity to push all that blood throughout our body. And it's that exercise that keeps the heart healthy and fit. And when we take that exercise away from the heart in microgravity, it has to work very less. And as a result, over time, for long durations of time, it can get weaker and lead to a condition called heart failure. Now, in the United States, there's about 6.2 million adults who suffer from this condition of heart failure. So we want to use microgravity as a platform to study how this phenomena occurs and bring and test new drugs that are FDA approved to reverse the effects of the aging and such cardiac complications. Not only that, the research will also provide us insights into how a heart may function during long-term space expeditions for our astronauts and space explorers.
Well, that is fascinating, and we know that our team in space is eager to get their hands on your research, but can you tell us about your team on Earth that helped you develop it?
Absolutely. So we, as a team of scientists and engineers, we are thrilled to be a part of the space biology community. And it's always exciting to bring the research from the lab to the launch pad. And me and my team have come to an greater appreciation for how a billion parts has to be enabled to move this research to the ISS. And here I would like to acknowledge my team. So if you can bring up the photo of my team. So here from left to right, we see Dr. Luis Zia from Biosource Space Technologies, my mentor, Dr. Joseph Wu, and Sushma Shenoy from Stanford. And we also have Dr. Orlando Chirikian from UCSB. So to celebrate all the teamwork that we have put into this Cardinal Heart experiment, we have designed a cool mission patch, which you can see on the screen, that shows all our collaborators on this particular project. And right at the center, you see the cartoon of an engineered heart tissue that we are sending up to the space station. So we are super excited and thrilled. So go NASA, go SpaceX, go Dragon.
Awesome. We are very excited to see your science launch to space. So let's actually get back to Tori in the studio for a launch update. Tori?
LWO1 WeatherNet. Liftoff conditions looking pretty good.
EST is ready for launch.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Ten, 9, 8.
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's December 6th, and you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 on Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, and we're about to launch a Dragon spacecraft. Liftoff is targeted at 11:17 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is Andy Tran, and I'm a production supervisor here at SpaceX. It's great to be here with you to cover our 21st commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA. On screen and on top of Falcon 9 is an upgraded version of our Dragon vehicle. We've seen this new vehicle fly people twice now. The first was on our Demonstration 2 mission earlier this year with NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, and most recently on the Crew 1 mission with the four NASA astronauts who are currently still living and working on the space station. For today's mission, instead of people, we'll be transporting cargo, and this will be the first flight of cargo in our upgraded Dragon. It's worth highlighting that all CRS flights going forward will fly from Pad 39A, and late cargo load will be done through the crew access arm. To this day, Dragon remains the only spacecraft currently flying that's capable of transporting significant amounts of cargo to and from the Earth. Once Dragon reaches its destination, it will be the first time that we have two Dragons docked at the orbiting laboratory at the same time. Between Crew Dragon and the cargo resupply missions, at this time, we are anticipating that there will be a Dragon spacecraft attached to the International Space Station at all times throughout 2021. And one final milestone to highlight today. If all goes according to plan, today's launch will mark the 100th successful mission for Falcon 9. So a lot of excitement ahead in the next hour. We are targeting an instantaneous launch window, currently at T-minus 13 minutes and counting, with all systems currently go at both our Kennedy Space Center and SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California. So with that, let's take a closer look at today's Falcon 9 and Dragon spacecraft. This is going to be SpaceX's 24th launch this year, and as I mentioned, this is the cargo configuration of our new Dragon spacecraft. This version of Dragon is designed for up to 5 flights, while the previous version of Dragon can only support 3. Dragon was also designed from the beginning to be reused, so we are hoping to refly this vehicle again in the future. To date, 9 of our CRS missions have launched flight-proven Dragons. Today, we'll be delivering approximately 6,400 pounds of cargo to the space station, including critical materials to support dozens of science and research investigations that will occur on board the orbiting laboratory. We'll go into a little bit more detail on some of that research later on in today's webcast. This version of Dragon has 20% more volume and double the powered lockers. And in order to fly more cargo, we've made a few modifications to the spacecraft from the vehicle used on our Demo 2 and Crew 1 missions. Since there are no people on board, we've removed the Super Draco engines, which not only power Crew Dragon, but will also carry astronauts away from Falcon 9 to safety in the unlikely event of an emergency on the pad or during ascent. We've also removed 2 trunk fins used only for abort scenarios, and in the pressurized section, the seats and crew displays have been swapped for cargo racks. Lastly, the environmental control systems has also been reduced in both size and complexity. And while this Dragon will be flying for the first time, the Falcon 9 first stage, which is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, is a flight-proven booster. Today's mission CRS-21 will be its 4th flight. It previously supported the Demo 2, Anasis 2, and most recently, the Starlink mission in October. To date, we've had 99 successful Falcon 9 launches. 42 of those were on reflown boosters. And today we'll be attempting to recover the first stage on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. You can see it on screen right now. And for those keeping count, if we do successfully land Falcon 9 today, this will mark our 68th booster landing and the 35th successful landing for our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. And finally, above the first stage is our second stage. It has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry Dragon to its intended orbit, allowing the spacecraft to eventually rendezvous with the International Space Station. It's T-minus 10 minutes. and 20 seconds and counting. The SpaceX team is working no significant issues. For propellant, the go, no-go poll was conducted at the T-minus 38-minute mark, and propellant loading began shortly after that, around the T-minus 35-minute mark. At this point, RP1 fuel is completely loaded on the second stage and almost done on the first stage. For liquid oxygen, it's currently underway on both stages and should complete around the T-minus 2-minute mark. We're also loading helium gas into both stages. Falcon 9 uses helium as a pressurant to backfill the propellant tanks as liquid oxygen and RP1 are consumed by the Merlin engines during ascent. For Dragon, we've also began its startup sequence at the T-minus 35-minute mark when it coordinated timing with Falcon 9. It's currently undergoing vehicle health checks with the next big step just before liftoff when the Dragon transitions to internal battery power. The range is standing by and ready to support. As for weather, a bit better than yesterday. We're looking at a 40% probability of violation with the primary weather constraint of thick clouds. There may also be some precipitation in the thick clouds that we are monitoring and will continue to monitor all the way until T0. Other than that, with the launch team, Falcon 9, Dragon, and Range reporting green, and at T-minus 9 minutes and counting, all systems are go for launch of CRS-21 today. Since SpaceX began flying Dragon in 2012, our vehicles have delivered some really cool and vital scientific experiments to the orbiting laboratory, and today's mission is no different. Dragon will be carrying dozens of research payloads to the space station, including research from the National Laboratory, operated by the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space, or CASIS. There are more than 20 payloads sponsored by NASA and the National Lab on today's mission, representing more than 50 science experiments, all of which are intended to benefit life on Earth. Let's take a few minutes and look at some of the groundbreaking research from CASIS that will be aboard the CRS-21 mission.
SpaceX's 21st Commercial Resupply Services mission to the International Space Station is ready to launch from Kennedy Space Center. This mission will bring critical cargo, research, and technology demonstration payloads to the orbiting laboratory. The ISS National Laboratory is proud to sponsor more than 15 payloads on this mission, representing dozens of experiments to further fundamental and applied research through space-based inquiry and to engage the next generation of researchers and explorers. Here's a quick look at some of the payloads on SpaceX CRS-21. 3 projects on this mission are funded by the National Institutes of Health through its joint multi-year Tissue Chips in Space initiative with the ISS National Lab. Tissue chips are small devices engineered to grow human cells on an artificial scaffold to model the structure and function of human tissues. Studying tissue chips in space may accelerate pathways for understanding disease and developing new treatments for use on Earth and beyond. In 2019, a team of researchers from the University of California, San Diego sent a brain organoid model to space for the first time ever to study neurological diseases in microgravity. Based on findings from that initial investigation, the team is launching a second payload to further examine how microgravity affects the survival, metabolism, and cognitive function of brain cells in an organoid model. Bristol Myers Squibb, a leading pharmaceutical company, is launching a protein crystallization investigation aimed at improving drug formulation and delivery for patients on Earth. In this experiment, the team will study the crystallization of monoclonal antibodies in space to improve their crystallization back on the ground. Monoclonal antibodies are lab-created proteins designed to interact with specific targets called antigens and are used in the treatment of several diseases, including cancer. Did you know that more than 7 million tomato seeds have been sent to low Earth orbit and exposed to microgravity? That's right. Tomatosphere is an education program in which students and teachers around the country compare the germination rates of space-flown seeds and Earth-based seeds. The program provides students with a glimpse into how the unique microgravity environment of the ISS affects plant growth. Speaking of education, this mission includes more than 30 experiments from the Student Spaceflight Experiments Program, which provides yearly opportunities for students and communities around the world to leverage the space station for research using mixed-sticks testing tubes. Investigations from this year's participating students span a variety of research areas, including the physical and life sciences, as well as plant biology. Since its inception in 2010, the program has engaged more than 125,000 students in space-based projects. Many of the investigations on this mission build on previously flown experiments. Such research serves to advance the knowledge gained through space-based inquiry, delivering value to our nation and driving a robust, sustainable, and scalable market in low Earth orbit. We look forward to this launch and the important research that will be completed on our nation's orbiting laboratory in the coming months. To learn more about all ISS National Lab sponsored research on this mission, please visit issnationallab.org.
This is just a small sample of the dozens of research experiments that Dragon will take up to the space station. For more information on the exciting microgravity research happening on the orbiting lab, you can follow @space_station on Twitter. We are currently under contract with NASA to resupply the space station through 2024 as part of a second Commercial Resupply Services contract award. These missions will use the new version of Dragon, which can fly both cargo and people. And today's mission marks the first flight under this new contract, and we're super excited to continue this partnership with NASA. Flying NASA astronauts and helping keep the space station fully operational is a top priority for us here at SpaceX. We are just past T-minus 4 minutes and continuing to count down for an 11:17 a.m. Eastern launch to the International Space Station. In these last few minutes, Falcon 9 is performing final health checks on its primary communications, avionics, and propulsion systems in preparation for flight. Just to give you a recap of what's been happening, at the T-minus 7-minute mark, we began engine chilling. This is where we inject a small amount of super chill liquid oxygen to prepare the 9 first-stage engine turbopumps for full propellant flow during flight. You might hear the call-outs that engines are sufficiently chilled later on in the countdown. At the T-minus 4-minute mark, the transporter erector, which is that large truss structure next to Falcon 9, began to retract away from Falcon 9 in preparation for liftoff. In about a minute around the T-minus 2-minute mark, liquid oxygen should complete loading on the second stage, and that will be the last of our propellant loading. At the T-minus 1-minute mark, Falcon 9 flight computers will enter startup mode and guide the rocket through the rest of the countdown. Shortly after that, the SpaceX launch director will give the go for launch, and finally at T0, the rocket is released from the hold down clamps for liftoff, after which the strong back fully retracts away from the rocket, clearing way for Falcon 9's ascent. Checkouts of the second stage thrust vector control actuators are also underway. You often hear people refer to this as an engine wiggle test. This is when we move the thrust nozzle slightly to make sure that the guidance hardware is a go for flight. We do the exact same checkouts on the engines for the first stage, except that occurs just seconds before ignition. Dragon is also performing its final health checkouts to make sure all of its primary systems are ready for its rendezvous with the space station. The range remains a go for launch, and whether we are still continuing to monitor. Let's listen into the nets for the last few minutes of terminal count. And you can see that we have some white clouds starting to form around Falcon 9. This is completely normal for us at this stage in the countdown. That is liquid oxygen condensing when it meets the warmer ambient airs of Florida. We've just passed the T-minus 1 minute mark. Both stages are beginning to pressurize for launch. And we are reaching the T-minus 30-second mark. All systems are go for launch. This is mission CRS-21, the last mission of Dragon for this year. T plus 50 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 is carrying our upgraded Dragon vehicle to low Earth orbit. In a few seconds, we'll be passing max Q, which is the moment where the vehicle will experience the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures. And we've just passed max Q. Coming up are 3 events in rapid succession. The first event is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 of the Merlin engines on the Falcon 9 first stage will shut down in preparation for the second event, which is stage separation. This is where the first and second stage will separate from one another. And a few seconds after that, we'll have a second engine start 1, where the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite to boost Dragon to low Earth orbit. Again, that is main engine cutoff, stage separation, followed by second engine start on the second stage. Main engine cutoff should happen around the T plus 2 minute and 31 second mark. And you just saw on screen successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, and ignition of our second stage. So on screen right now, you have 2 different views. On the right-hand side is a view of our second stage Merlin vacuum engine. On top of that second stage is our Dragon vehicle. And on the left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking downward. The first stage will continue its descent back towards Earth and attempt landing on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, in a few minutes, while the second stage continues to take our Dragon vehicle to low Earth orbit. If you are just joining us, this is the 21st commercial resupply mission for the International Space Station for NASA. This is also SpaceX's 24th launch this year. And we're flying a cargo configuration of our new Dragon spacecraft. Now looking on the left-hand side of your screen, the first stage, in order to make its way back to our drone ship, the first stage executes a series of 2 burns. The first burn is the entry burn, where 3 of the Merlin engines will reignite. This helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The second and final burn is the landing burn. This is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on our drone ship. The first of those two burns, the stage 1 entry burn, should happen around the T plus 6.5 minute mark. Until then, we get some really cool views of both the first and second stage. You notice that our grid fins on the first stage have also deployed. Those help to guide the first stage back during descent. You can also see some periodic plumes of gas, that's nitrogen, coming from our attitude control systems. And those help to orient the first stage as it continues to fall back towards Earth. And there it goes. We're about a minute away from the first of these two burns on the first stage. And just checking in with the second stage, everything seems to be looking nominal.
Trajectory nominal.
That engine that you see on the right-hand side can produce over 220,000 pounds of thrust in a vacuum. That single engine is what is carrying Dragon to low Earth orbit right now. And we're just a few seconds away from our re-entry burn on the first stage. Watch for those 3 Merlin engines to relight and slow the stage down.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there's our entry burn. Again, that's 3 engines slowing the first stage down before it hits that dense part of the Earth's atmosphere.
Trajectory nominal.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And we are done with the first of 2 burns on the first stage. The second burn, the landing burn, will happen at the T plus 8 minute and 18 second mark. That second burn should last for about 25 seconds. And as that burn is happening, we should also be having another major event for the second stage, second engine cutoff. We'll see if we can hear that as the landing burn begins. As we wait for this landing burn, this is going to be our 68th attempt to recover our first stage, and we are going to be attempting to land on our drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, I still love you.
Second stage and terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing burn startup.
And we got audio confirmation
STS is saved.
that the first stage has begun its landing burn. Everything's looking great on the second stage right now.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
There's a view from our drone ship. Here comes Falcon 9.
Pico.
And Falcon 9 has landed once again. That is the 68th successful first stage recovery. This mission also marks the 100th successful flight of Falcon 9. It's also the 35th time we've landed successfully on our drone ship. Of course, I still love you. During that landing, we did get confirmation of second stage, second engine cutoff, also confirmation of a good orbit. And second stage now has one last major task, commanding separation of Dragon just a few minutes from now. And we should have a video of Dragon separation from the top of the second stage. It should give us a nice view into Dragon's unpressurized cargo trunk area. This is an animation to show where each of the stages are currently in this mission. The second stage has turned off its Merlin vacuum engine and is currently coasting, awaiting for Dragon separation. There's a view of the unpressurized section of Dragon. Now, for a typical CRS mission, after Dragon deploys, we would be waiting for solar array deployment, but as a reminder, this is our new Dragon vehicle, and it has solar panels mounted along the surface of the trunk. You might be able to see it once Dragon separates, but those solar panels are already activated and producing power. We are about 45 seconds away from Dragon separation. Again, we are in a coast phase. Even though the engines are not on, we are still coasting at pretty fast pace, 27,000 kilometers per hour. And we are expecting Dragon separation just a few seconds from now.
Dragon separation confirmed.
And there is Dragon separated from the second stage. What a cool view. That is, if you've been following us, looks a lot different than our previous CRS missions. Dragon is carrying approximately 6,400 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station on this mission. A small portion of the cargo represents supplies for the astronauts, things like food and clothing, but most of the cargo represents science going up to the space station. The International Space Station serves as the world's leading laboratory for cutting-edge research and technology development that will enable human and robotic exploration of destinations beyond low Earth orbit, including the Moon and even Mars. The Dragon vehicle is just beginning its journey. It has about 26 hours before reaching the space station. The next major event is nose cone deploy, and that's where we expose the guidance, navigation, and control sensors and docking mechanisms. We won't be able to see that on camera, but we should be able to get confirmation of it. And we do have confirmation of nose cone deploy, and Dragon is now, there it is, Dragon is now on its way to the space station. Again, over the next 26 hours, Dragon will perform a series of orbital height adjustment maneuvers with its Draco engines until it's within a few kilometers of the International Space Station and begins its autonomous docking process. Dragon is set to dock at 1:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow and remain at the space station for more than 30 days before returning to Earth with research and return cargo. And there you have it, our fifth and final Dragon flight of 2020. With that, that's going to do it for us here at SpaceX today. We had an on-time liftoff from Kennedy Space Center, successful stage separation. We landed our first stage for the 68th time and successfully deployed our upgraded Dragon vehicle into orbit. Today's mission also marked the 100th successful flight for Falcon 9. Dragon's arrival and docking to the space station will be streamed live starting tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on NASA TV. Dragon will spend, again, about 5 weeks attached to the space station before returning to Earth with cargo and research. Keep an eye out for mission updates on NASA and SpaceX's social media accounts. We want to give a big thanks to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for their support today. And of course, finally, thank you to everyone that has joined and tuned in for today's launch. Until next time, have a great rest of your weekend.